So I met my best friend in 4th grade. She was fun, she was silly, she was talkative, she was really, really weird. But I loved everything about her. As far as I can remember, we were inseparable from the very beginning. Most would say that we were attached at the hip, but I was okay with that. A lot of the time that we spent together was spent at her grandma's house. She lived on about 7 acres of land, and in her backyard there was like tall trees. It was like a forest with a bike trail all through it. And that's where we spent most of our time. We pretty much grew up there. Actually, still today, a lot of who I am has been molded because of the things that I had done with her. And it was really, really great memories. But a lot of things started to change around 8th grade. There was this guy who moved to our school in the middle of the year. He's gonna remain nameless forever. But he was weird. He was really weird. I was kind of quiet. I was a nice girl. I was very, very innocent. But this guy was so strange. He was loud. He was rambunctious. He was rebellious. He was unlike anyone I had ever met before. Most would say obnoxious, but my little 14-year-old heart beat for this kid. And so I started becoming like him. You know how when you see someone that you really kind of idolize and you want to become like them to get closer to them? That's what I did. That was bad. It was real bad. And so that started spilling into my other relationships, like my home life. So I became more rebellious. I became more like I just didn't want to do anything. I kind of hated everyone that wasn't really, really close people. Like this kid, my best friend, and my mom. Everyone else, ew. But, so because of this, I became harder to handle, apparently, according to my mother, and the one-sided arguments that I had with my stepdad became louder and more frequent, and it ruined a lot of things at home. Their marriage started failing, and it was more than evident that it was because of me. So at this point, my mother made, I'm sure, was the hardest decision of her life. She had sacrificed a lot for me, and so she sent me to live with my dad for a year, which wasn't so bad, because it was only a year, and I needed to know my dad anyways, but it sucked. I really didn't want to, especially if everyone that I really, really loved was around me in Manor. I really didn't want to go live with my dad. But I was 14. I didn't really have a say, so I went to do it anyways. And so Evant is a tiny little town that's about 30 minutes north of Lampasas. So going from a school here in Manor that had about 1,500 kids to going to a school that was around 180, give or take, K through 12 grades, I immediately became introverted, which I didn't know it at that time, but that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because it gave me a lot of time and a lot of space to learn more about myself as a person, as an individual, instead of someone that was attached at the hip to my best friend. So I learned a lot of things about myself. I learned that screamo music wasn't as good as I thought it was. As much as 14-year-old me would try to convince you otherwise, I learned that black was not my favorite color, even though it is easy to match with other things. And I learned that time alone isn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. It's actually really, really cool. It's peaceful, it's relaxing, and it gives you a lot of time to learn about yourself and the environment that surrounds you. But my journey was winding down because the year was coming to an end, and I had to prepare myself to get ready to come back to Manor, and I was so stoked. You couldn't even imagine how much excitement was just running through my veins. I envisioned this so many times as the days went by, closing in on the day that I was supposed to move back. I envisioned all of the friends that I had made in Manor. I envisioned all of them just running up to me and just like hugging me and throwing me on their shoulders and like chanting my name. But, you know, that didn't really happen. But, you know, I figured, whatever, okay, time goes by, people are gonna make new friends and whatever, they just kind of disperse and that's what happened. But I figured that like my best friend, if no one else, my best friend would like run to me and there was gonna be like fireworks and we're gonna like go do more things and we're gonna eat her grandma's cookies and get fat and it's gonna be awesome. But, you know, that didn't really happen either. Which, you know, kind of sucked. Like, I figured she had dealt with me through that whole period in 8th grade where I just, like, hated everyone. Like, that was the most, like, as I look back now, I would gladly punch myself in the face. But she dealt with me through all that time, and I figured now that I was back from event and I had, like, grown into, like, this more level-headed person, I figured that now, out of every time, that we would be closer. And I was wrong. This left me sad and really, really confused, but I felt abandoned more than anything else. Because I had tried to talk to her, and it just seemed like she didn't really have anything to say. But, you know, I learned to get over it because the year that I was away taught me a lot of things about myself, so I just kind of stepped back, and I relaxed. And I pulled myself together and I made more friends. Because that's what you do. You don't just leave things where they drop. You pick them back up and you move forward. That's how life works. So that's what I did. I made more friends. But like, throughout this whole experience, I learned quite a few things. Not just about myself, but life in general. One, I learned that you cannot rely solely on one person. Like, ever. It isn't fair to anyone involved, including yourself. Especially yourself. Secondly, that you can use every experience that you have in life to learn and to grow from and make you stronger emotionally and intellectually as long as you allow yourself to do so, and you have to. And lastly, that friends come and go, always, but that doesn't mean that they're not important. They bring joy, they bring adventure, and they bring love. We just cannot allow ourselves, we just can't forget that we can bring these things to ourselves.